From Florida's 2, all the news, all over, always. This is 2 News at 11 with Steve Rondinero and Robin Chapman. Chief Meteorologist Dave Marsh. And sports with Mark Middleton. This is 2 News at 11.
Hussein would have it, the United States against Iraq, it is Iraq against the world. And
President Bush lays it on the line. Good evening, I'm Robin Chapman.
I'm Steve Rondinero. The president says the nations of the world are galvanized against Iraq, but the anti-American fervor in Iraq is growing too. Baghdad 1990 is looking more and more like the Tehran of the 70s. An angry mob burned President Bush in effigy outside the U.S. Embassy. They burned American flags and alternated shouts of death to America with chants proclaiming their undying loyalty to Saddam Hussein.
But President Bush more than indicated tonight that the U.S. would not be intimidated by Iraq. In his address tonight to a joint session of Congress, he used fiery words to describe Iraq's dictator and repeated at least 3 times that the United States would not allow Iraq to remain in Kuwait. A presidential address to a joint session of Congress is still pretty rare. The president clearly chose this particular forum to rally political support for his decision to send U.S. troops into the Gulf, and perhaps to use them.
But the United States has no quarrel with the Iraqi people. Our quarrel is with Iraq's dictator and with his aggression. Iraq will not be permitted to annex Kuwait. And that's not a threat, it's not a boast, that's just the way it's going to be.
He explained why in 3 letters. Oil.
We cannot permit a resource so vital to be dominated by one so ruthless, and we won't.
The president also pressed for a budget plan from Congress by the end of September.
America is tired of phony deficit reduction or promise now, save later plans.
His speech was warmly received by a Congress that appears to be united on America's military action, but still divided on a budget plan to run the country. As always, probably better received by the Republicans on Capitol Hill, Florida Senator Connie Mack typified the Republican response.
First, I think it was a strong message. It clearly was a message that the United States is committed to our policy, that the people of the nation are united behind the president, that it is a Saddam Hussein finds himself in a situation where it is, in fact, the world against Iraq.
Florida Senator Connie Mack with the Republican reaction.
Joining us live from Washington now with a Democratic viewpoint on the president's speech is Florida's senior Senator Bob Graham. Senator, welcome.
Thank you, Steve.
Representative Dick Gephardt gave the official Democratic response nationally tonight. Seemed to be pretty much coming down on the side of the president all the way. You react the same way to what you heard tonight?
I thought this was the best speech that George Bush has given since he's been in the White House. He had several audiences. He spoke to the American people about the fact that this is an important and could be a long commitment in the Middle East. It'll be a test of wills. He spoke to Saddam Hussein. He told him that we are not going to allow you to benefit by your aggressive takeover of Kuwait. He spoke to the Congress that we've got some things to do together, particularly in developing an energy policy and working through a 5-year budget deficit reduction program that will balance our books in 5 years or less.
Senator Graham, he repeated so many times that we were not going to allow Iraq to remain in Kuwait. It makes one wonder if military action is close. Do you think there's support for that?
Well, if the president were to decide that that was necessary, yes, there would be support for that. The president is committed, however, to an international solution and to using the embargo to the maximum extent possible. And I believe that unless there is some accidental spark that flares off a controversy and turns this into a shooting war, that we are likely to be in for a sustained stalemate as we attempt to essentially tighten the noose around Hussein.
All right.
Senator, he also spoke about greater U.S. independence in terms of oil, and that raises the question again of maybe offshore drilling off the coast of Florida. What have you heard about that? How do you feel about it?
Well, that was an area of concern. The president spoke specifically about Alaska He did not say anything about Florida or California. He has made some commitments in the last few weeks that there would be a 10-year moratorium on drilling in environmentally sensitive areas in the vicinity of the Florida Keys and southwest Florida. I have no reason to believe that the president is not prepared to keep that commitment.
All right, thank you, Senator. That's Senator Graham joining us live from Washington.
I'll tell you, 6 Central Floridians are mighty happy to be back home to hear what the president and our senators had to say tonight. They lived through the Iraqi invasion of Kuwait. Laura and Joseph McCool and their 4 children were trapped in Kuwait, but finally got home today. They were welcomed with open arms by family members at Orlando International Airport. Because there are so many still in danger, the McCools are reluctant to talk about their escape, but Joseph's dual Lebanese citizenship was a big help.
The president talked about budgets tonight, but that's also a local problem. Many local governments are asking for more tax dollars as they plan their budgets for the next year. Tonight in Seminole County, taxpayers made their disapproval known over taxes they say are going up by as much as 33%. Wendy Chioji has this report from the county's first public budget hearing.
Many Seminole County residents see red when they look at their tax bills. The county is proposing a 13.8% tax increase to balance its nearly $200 million budget. This is what homeowners inside Seminole County cities and in unincorporated Seminole County paid last year. Here's what they'd pay under the new tax rate. Taxpayers say this, on top of the 27% increase in school taxes, is too much.
You think you had the hard decision. These people, if they lose their home, they've got the hard decision. So there's got to be somewhere that you can cut part of it out.
These people that are trying to buy a house that can't afford it, they're going to have to move out of the state.
I think what everybody's trying to say here is read our lips, no new taxes. Thank you.
Commissioners voted 4-1 to advertise both the proposed tax rate and the budget in this first public hearing. They hope the staff will bring back lower figures for the second public hearing coming up in 2 weeks. Wendy Chioji, Florida's 2 News.
Commissioner Bob Sturm was the lone dissenting vote. He said he couldn't vote for a budget or a tax rate that was so high. He faces a runoff for his seat next month.
The budget axe is also falling on Florida's public schools. The state will come up more than $500 million short in tax revenues this year, and education is expected to take a hard hit. Raising local taxes is one way to make up for the shortfall, and that's just what they did in Volusia County tonight. 2 News reporter Beth Powers has the story.
This is not a typical school budget hearing in Volusia County. Normally, a few dozen people turn out against the budget, but not tonight. Hundreds of residents and overflow crowd came out in support of the school budget, a spending plan that calls for higher property taxes.
Ladies and gentlemen, I support this tax increase. We have to support the generation that's going to take care of us.
I think the basic thing is it comes right down to the kids. And it's hard to tell the kids that they can't have art, they can't have music.
It was a clear reversal of the no new taxes theme that many Central Florida communities have embraced recently. The 4% increase in property taxes translates to $13 more a year for the average $60,000 homeowner. But not everyone thinks it's a good idea. Tanner Andrews feels the board should cut the fat out of its own bureaucracy.
4 out of the 5 secretaries to the superintendent may be eliminated. Also eliminate all assistant superintendents and their secretaries who are sufficient to staff a drug cartel.
But most agree a quality education costs money, and they're willing to pay for it. Beth Powers, Florida's 2 News, DeLand.
And the school board passed that budget unanimously tonight.
Someone is assaulting women in Cocoa. Police think it is a serial rapist, and they are trying to track him down. The attacks have all occurred in a quiet area of downtown Cocoa. So far, 4 women have been victims. In the first case, the trauma to the woman was so severe she died shortly after being raped. In the other cases, the women were either able to escape or were able to frighten the rapist into leaving. The attacker, described as a black male, about 5 foot 6 inches tall with a thin build. He is muscular with short hair and a mustache. In Gainesville, police today decided to call out the military to help search a wooded area behind some of the victims' apartments. Police say they'll search this area, as much as 10 square miles of it behind the Gatorwood apartments, because they believe some evidence may have been left there by suspect Edward Humphrey.
It was based upon some information that he enjoyed being in the woods, that he may have camped out, and that he enjoyed being solitary out in the wooded areas.
Also today, police allowed reporters into this eerie scene, the apartment where the last murder victims were found. Investigators have been and gone. It's been 3 weeks. Police say they are still not close to making an arrest.
Now, the first man to backpack through space hangs up his flight suit. That story's still ahead.
And we'll take an amazing look inside a strange museum in Moscow.
Some of you still don't believe Sears Pest Control works for a whole year, especially here in Florida. But it does, because we know how bugs think, what materials to use, and where to apply them. In mulch areas to stop palmetto bugs before they get in, around the eaves to eliminate spiders, and inside walls to get roaches, ants, and silverfish where they hide. In fact, our treatment works so well that if the bugs come back during the year, we'll retreat your home for free. So give us a call. No more smelly sprays, monthly visits, or bugs for a whole year. You can believe it, because it's Sears.
Now through September 30th and in fall, winter, and spring, Florida residents are privileged characters in all 3 Disney theme parks. You can visit the Disney MGM Studios theme park, the Magic Kingdom, and Epcot Center. Get 4 seasons at Disney for less than the price of 4 days. Yes, $90 gets you over 120 days in 3 Disney parks. Now that's a privilege with plenty of character.
Hey, guys, you ain't seen nothing yet.
Passports available at Sears, AMC Theaters, and Walt Disney World.
You can't beat Ford Aerostar for versatility and design. And now you'll get $500 cash back or low 7.9% financing on any Aerostar. Get $750 cash back or low 7.9% financing when you buy a new Taurus.
It's deals like that that make you feel like a winner.
Ford's too tough to beat, too tough to beat.
The Cosby Show, now weekday afternoons at 4 on Florida's 2.
Rescue workers searched the Atlantic late today after a Boeing 727 ditched off the coast of Newfoundland. The Peruvian jet was en route from Malta to St. John's and then to Miami when the crash occurred about 200 miles south of Newfoundland. There were only 15 people on board, but some are believed to have been based in Miami, some from Peru.
Only crew members of Fawcett Airlines and mechanics that we had based in Malta.
And their families, I understand?
Some family members of those people.
The jet, which looks like the one pictured here, was off course, and searchers think it ran out of fuel. Still no word of any survivors tonight.
As if NASA didn't have enough problems already, the Pentagon may force the space agency to delay the launch of the shuttle Columbia in order to launch a military rocket. NASA was ready to announce a September 18th target date today, but didn't. Just a few miles down the coast, it's a Titan IV rocket with a secret military payload. With the Persian Gulf crisis, the Pentagon may be arguing that whatever's aboard the Titan should get priority. The question of who launches first may be resolved tomorrow. A veteran astronaut who paved the way for freeform spacewalks is hanging up the flight suit. Bruce McCandless, who last flew aboard Discovery on the Hubble mission in April, is retiring. The 53-year-old McCandless helped develop NASA's jet-powered backpack and will be best remembered like this, as the first American to venture out into space untethered back in 1984.
Nice way to be remembered. The lotto jackpot is now at $90 million and climbing. $90 million. Tickets are selling at a rate of 100 per second statewide. But today came a voice of moderation. Governor Bob Martinez urged those who can least afford it not to get caught up in the lotto hysteria. Dave Marsh has put the T word into his forecast for tomorrow.
We'll see what's up next, including an umbrella advisory.
Cooking for the guys again? Uh-oh. Why not treat them to a Crystal Super Combo meal? 4 Crystals, large Coke, large fries, and for a limited time, just $2.99. Bon appetit, boys. Why are they here? What do they want? Well, it must be for Crystal's Super Combo Meal. 2 double Crystals, large Coke, large fries, and for a limited time, just $2.99. They even travel well.
Jimmy, did you know your daddy is planning for your future? He just bought a Toro GTS lawnmower with a 5-year starting guarantee. For 5 years, it'll start in the first or second pull, or Toro will fix it free. So your daddy knows it'll be around a long time, which means someday you might be using it to mow the lawn.
See your Yellow Pages for the Toro dealer nearest you.
What do you do when you don't know what to do about a problem like
depression that won't go away, a child who's out of control, alcohol or drugs. Whatever the problem, help is as close as your phone.
Call us. We're Westlake Hospital. We can help you find the help you need. Call 260-1900.
This is a machine built for absolute dependability. And these are its hardest working parts, each meeting the highest performance standards, providing continuous, reliable service. The mechanics of American Airlines, uncompromising professionals, dedicated to perfection, flight after flight after flight.
Quite a bit of rain today in some places. And Dave, I can't remember, did you forecast rain or not?
Yes, I did.
Caught me that time.
Yeah, I did. It was widespread. It really wasn't that heavy. We did have a report come out of Claremont with 0.8 of an inch, but generally it was around 1 to 2/10 of an inch. That doesn't help us. I know they've been meeting, talking about the water restrictions, and judging by what happened today, the water restrictions are going to continue. Let's take a look at weather radar to see what's left of the rainfall, and most of it, as it developed today, moved west very slowly across the state. But all we can see right now is up here in the northeastern part of the state, most of it in Georgia, and a few showers off the Brevard County coastline. That is moving to the west, but that is dissipating, so it will just be no more rainfall for the rest of the night, actually. And if we take a look at our satellite picture again, that is beginning to break up over central Florida. We're already seeing the southern tip of Florida and up around the Panhandle. We had a solid overcast most of the afternoon, and a big mess out here. If we take a look at our 3D satellite picture, again, it looks like a bigger mess out there, but we're looking for possibly a low-pressure system to develop along the Texas coastline, getting back to Florida. Again, no buildups, maybe a few showers off the southwest coast there, but they're moving to the west away from Florida. It's really the afternoon heat and the sea breezes that are setting off these thunderstorms in the afternoon. There's no other major system doing it. Daytona Beach with a high of 87 degrees, Orlando 89, Mount Dora 88, and Ocala with 94 degrees. Currently at this late hour, 77 in Orlando and 76 degrees in Ocala, 81 in Daytona Beach, and 83 in Melbourne. Tomorrow, about the same as today. Afternoon thunderstorms, a high of 94. The winds out of the east at 10 miles per hour. So the showers and thunderstorms that do develop will again move over to the western side of the state. Our forecast map for the national weather scene should be some heavy rains throughout extreme eastern Texas, Louisiana, and then that rain area shooting on up toward the Great Lakes will not be quite as heavy, but they'll be seeing some thunderstorms. Maybe seeing a shot of cool air come down here. That might be the first sign of fall for the northern tier of states. And with our current map, we see high pressure over the northeastern section of the country, just a little bit on the cooler side compared with the rest of the country, and scattered thunderstorms along the Gulf Coast in the middle part of the country. Nothing major going on right now. Temperature map, again, there's that cool spell up in the northeast and northwest, still hot in the southwest, and just kind of warm over most of the country, actually. And our extended forecast, thunderstorms in the afternoon through Saturday with highs staying in the low to mid-90s. Weather picture for tonight. And this will, I hope, maybe cool you down just a little bit. Louise Strickland of Ocala sent that in, and that's a glacier up in Alaska. So if you don't like the heat and the humidity,
where will we find that? Certainly not here. Okay, okay. Thank you, Dave.
Yeah, we've got realtors in mourning in California. Seems the Raiders aren't moving anywhere. And how about the Ripkins? They play Family Feud with the Umps tonight.
Coming up later on The Tonight Show starring Johnny Carson, Candace Bergen tells all to host Jay Leno.
Well, what do you think when you see these things? I mean, do you... Well, this one really made me laugh because this one was true.
Leno's shocked as he reads articles. Plus, Ferris Bueller's Charlie Schlatter, comedian George Miller, and Bill Ira. After Jay on Late Night with David Letterman, it's the new Miss America, Chuck the Ostrich, and Bruce Hornsby.
I saw that.
Jay and Dave later tonight.
We elected Craig James to Congress because we knew he'd work hard for Florida, and he has. Craig James helped win final approval of the Coast Guard Drug Interdiction Center in St. Augustine. James fought successfully for improved child care for our working families, and for maximum penalties for S&L crooks. And James successfully appealed to President Bush to block offshore oil drilling. Congressman Craig James, he's fighting for us.
Even though you betrayed me, I would never harm you. The woman was in the other room. She saw everything.
They'd never find me.
We've got him for murder one.
I never saw anything.
They want the woman. We can't get off the train.
This
because my life would keep me with you.
If they see you, they're going to kill you.
I'm scared stiff. I don't want to die.
Gene Hackman, Ann Archer. This year, the name for suspense is Narrow Margin. Rated R.
Starts Friday, September 21st at a theater near you.
Holmes, I hear it. It's the hound.
Steady, Watson.
But Holmes...
He's just hungry, and as always, I've come prepared.
Holmes, what on earth did you get that?
Food Lion, Watson.
Food Lion? But how did you know that bee went out here?
Elementary, Watson. Food Lion's the fastest-growing supermarket chain in America. There's always one nearby.
It's a good thing you're always prepared, Holmes. Here comes the hound. Quick, the can opener.
Can opener? What can opener?
Lowest prices of the season starts Wednesday, 9 a.m. Mars Brothers, Jordan Marsh.
All right, we're ready to tee it up for the Raiders here.
Good morning. You know, home is where the heart is, Steve, unless
Good
you
morning.
are.
I guess
it
you're
is
right,
good
huh?
morning. Home is where the heart is. Don't mess my line up.
Sorry.
Unless you're Al Davis, in that case, it's where the greenbacks are.
Great line.
Thank you very much. I needed
Glad
to
you
get
got
that
it in
one.
there.
Thank you, sir. All right, let's talk about it, folks. A decade-long tug-of-war over the Raiders has finally ended. The team will stay in L.A. Owner Al Davis had a secret meeting in Orlando recently with L.A. Mayor Tom Bradley. At that time, the details on a new 20-year lease on the L.A. Coliseum were worked out. The Coliseum will undergo a $145 million renovation with private funds, and Davis says he'll now turn his attention to rebuilding his dynasty.
Determined, but we're the only team to play in the Super Bowl in the 60s, the 70s, and the 80s. We don't concede the 90s to anybody.
The humble one, Al Davis. Miami receiver Jim Jensen has ended his holdout yesterday, signing a new 2-year contract that he says stinks. Jensen claimed the Finns held a gun to his head in the negotiations because they were deducting pay for every game that he missed. The Sunrays are in Memphis for Game 3 of their Southern League Championship Series with the Chicks, but it will now have to wait until later tonight. Last night's game has been rained out. I'm getting all this right, aren't I?
Confuse us.
All right, let's talk about the big leagues. With about 20 games left in the regular season, the A's have a lock on the American League West, but the other 3 races are very much alive. Boston, 4 games up in the East, was in Milwaukee tonight. Joe Morgan tossed out by umpire McCoy. Morgan gives him a close shave here, maybe a bit too close. Could be fine for that. Tied at 2 in the 8th, the Brewers' Robin Yount would be the hero. His 2-run home of the difference, 4-2 Milwaukee. And now, folks, let us play Family Feud in Memorial Stadium. Baltimore's Billy Ripken called out on strikes by Rich Garcia. He doesn't like it. Has a few words. Next up, Cal Ripken Jr. He has some words on little brother's behalf. And finally, the old man, Cal Ripken Sr., gets involved. He can't control himself. Cal Sr. is ejected, as is Billy Ripken. Detroit, Dave, beats Baltimore. 2-1 is the final. Let's check the board. Toronto pulls to within 3 games of Boston as they beat Kansas City 8-4 is the final there. Oakland, West leading. Oakland leads Seattle out west. Chicago loses again. The Yankees bring Don Mattingly off the injured list and beat the Rangers. And there's that Baltimore score, 2-1 losers to Detroit. The Pirates in Philadelphia. Phillies lead 1-0 on a John Kruk home run, but Bobby Bonilla brings Backman home. Pirates roll from there. Their 9th win in 11 games, 5-1. Meanwhile, gorgeous night at Shea. The Mets and the Cards tied at 8. Bottom of the 9th. Darryl Strawberry at the plate. You know what happens. The Straw rips a 2-run homer to right, his 33rd of the year, probably his biggest of the year. The Mets win 10-8. They remain 3.5 back of the Bucks, and the 2 will open a 2-game set later today at Shea Stadium. Let's check the rest of the scores if we can. Montreal loses to Chicago. Cincinnati continues to roll in the West, 5-3 over Houston, and the rest is underway. And finally, guys, a quick word about the countdown for Saturday's 10th annual edition of the Central Florida Classic. UCF against Bethune-Cookman. BC leads that series 5-4, including a big win last year. The Cats, as you can see, hitting hard this season, off to their best start since '84, and head coach Larry Little says they're hungry for much more.
Well, right now we are on a pretty good roll. We won 2 in a row, and hopefully we can win 3 in a row.
Meanwhile, this guy will make his first start for UCF Saturday night. Freshman Travis Peoples, coming off the bench last weekend against Eastern Kentucky, had a big game, so UCF's going to need another good outing by him this Saturday night.
I think we ought to be able to do that when we get a story we don't like. Just carry on like Cal Sr. there.
Yeah, he's been having some problems lately.
Yeah.
We'll have a final story in a minute. Stay with us.
From the hills and villages of northern Italy come delicate, creamy-tasting sauces. And from the warm climes of southern Italy come hearty tomato sauces. Now all these pasta dishes with crispy garlic bread can come to you only if you come to Italy or Perkins Family Restaurants, whichever is more convenient.
I was looking for something a little bigger. I'll take it.
When the moment comes to start life on your own, there's no better card than MasterCard.
It's just the bare necessities.
With payment flexibility and nearly 3 times the acceptance of American Express.
How much is this?
For the way we really live.
So what do you think of my place?
It's definitely you.
MasterCard. Master the moment.
I'll be just a minute. Max will keep you company.
Max.
How are you two getting along?
Great.
Max doesn't get along with just anyone. He stopped barking. Max must like you.
Where there's good food and good times, it's only natural. Natural Light from Anheuser-Busch.
Oh, Max, come here right now. Hey, Maxie, come here, you. Did he show you any of his tricks?
Play dead. You cash 3 balls, listen up.
Yeah, Coach.
This film shows me in my prime. Being in shape helped make me a champion. Today, you are the champions, and your fans are counting on you to make it to the top. You know what's expected of you.
Look alive! Mix it up!
Don't forget to bounce!
Right, now let's hear that cash 3 cheer.
Play Cash 3. It's as easy as picking 3 numbers.
When I was in shape, I get bounced with the best of them.
KGB, of all people, held a news conference today in Moscow and invited reporters into the heretofore unknown KGB Museum. And what do you find here? Well, all kinds of American spy equipment seized by the KGB, including bugging devices and James Bond-like gadgets designed to hide microfilm and such. Asked why none of the KGB's own stuff was here, a young officer replied, if you want to see that, you'll have to go to the American CIA Museum.
Glasnost. See you tomorrow or later today.
Nice.
Later, dude.
No matter who you are or where you go, you're gonna run.
Look out, Florida. Here comes the storm. The Japanese-engineered Geostorm. It's the sports car of the 90s, priced as low as $10,705 at your new Chevy team of Central Florida. Come see it and get caught in a storm.
It's the place for me, the new Chevy team of Central Florida.
No matter what,
the place to be
is in a Geo.
Come celebrate New Year's Eve tonight and every night on Pleasure Island. An entire island featuring 6 nightclubs and a variety of entertainment, from music and dancing to stage shows and comedy. And every night is a once-in-a-lifetime New Year's Eve celebration that spills out onto the streets. Make a night of it on Pleasure Island, near the Disney Village.
Lowest prices of the season starts Wednesday, 9 a.m. Mars Brothers, Jordan Marsh.
I didn't think I could do anything with my life. Then someone showed me I could.
It's hard to keep going when nobody cares. Someone cared.
Someone is the Salvation Army. The Salvation Army Adult Rehabilitation Centers, renewing goods, rebuilding lives.